or as live as we can get.
For 3 days I've been calling manufacturer.
Oh, shoot.
I can't believe when I came back to tell me how to clear what I put in and start from scratch.
None of
have
the
that problem?
You should go online and try it.
I've been online too.
Sometimes if you go online, they had this technical service.
My grandson
You
did
can email. And those normally get you the answer next day. I've had trouble with Saturday. I will not sit for half an hour waiting.
I don't know, we sent for Saturday?
You're next in line.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah?
That's
Good.
exactly
Anything
Anything you need taken care of?
Go into the website, see if
Do we have to
there's a
reserve the fire
technical
station
advice.
with the chief?
Nope, he even said his guys
Check
would
out
help
the
me
answer, request a
bring stuff
response,
in.
and
Oh, yeah?
I didn't find
So when
out.
are we gonna start?
Friday, can you pick up the flowers on Friday?
Always.
From Edgewood Nursery?
Mm-hmm.
350.
It is, okay, so it's a reasonably heavy.
Yeah, so we're live.
How many we getting?
Right.
They supply the ones for
60
Costco,
some?
I think.
Is that a?
Six?
Oh, you mean,
$9?
oh, I don't know how, he'll give you how many,
I thought there was like 30 of them last year, 35.
oh, I thought you meant people. I don't, it doesn't matter, whatever he gives us. Does that sound good?
Did they tell you what?
So we're all set whenever you're set. Oh, it's 6:02. 6:02.
6:02, elect clock.
That's, yep.
Joe, can you hear me okay? Am I good, Joe?
Gentlemen, are we ready?
Yep. And lady?
And ladies, are we ready? Okay. Town of Vernon Town of Vernon Plan Commission will come to order. And this is a joint Plan Commission, joint town board, so we'll call the Plan Commission first, and then we'll call the roll call for the supervisors for the town board. Madam Clerk, let's see here. Okay.
You can do the pledge.
Roll call that. We'll roll call. Let's do the pledge of the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Chairperson of the Plan Commission, Thomas Bird.
Present.
Commissioner Supervisor Jeff Millies.
Present.
Commissioner Supervisor Bill Craig. Commissioner Megan Johnson. Commissioner Merle Wagner.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, note for record, do you have a quorum of your Plan Commission present?
All right. On board.
Chairman Thomas Bird.
Present.
Supervisor Jeff Millies. Supervisor Gary Wildy.
Present.
Supervisor Ed Moline. Supervisor Bill Craig. Mr. Chairman, note for record, do you have a quorum of your town board present also?
All right. Open meetings law compliant.
Mr. Chairman, the agenda was posted inside and outside the Vernon Town Hall to the media, to businesses within the town of Vernon, and on the town of Vernon's website. You're in full compliance with the open meetings law.
All right, thank you. Item 5, miscellaneous matters. Following matters will be discussed and possible action taken by the Town of Vernon Board of Supervisors and Plan Commission unless otherwise noted. Item A. Was Mr. Scafidi supposed to be here?
Oh, God, yes. He's not here.
Okay. I think we'll let that one go, item A go. We'll just skip down to B and see if Mr. Scafidi shows up. So let's do item B. Town of Vernon Plan Commission recommendation to the Town of Vernon Board regarding the non-substantial telecommunications. Tower modification request for Chicago SMSA LA for the tower located at South 81 West 26220 National Avenue. That would be the one by fire station number 2. Sean?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is like the past couple that we've seen. It's a per state statutes, a non-substantial modification, meaning the height doesn't exceed a certain limit, the width is not being increased, and the square footage of the base, the compound at the base is not being increased. Staff has deemed the application complete As of December 5th, the Plan Commission and Board must make a determination within 45 days of that date. So if something happens tonight, action is taken tonight, you would meet that particular date. What they're proposing to do is to remove 6 antennas, replace them with 6 more, change some cabling out, and then change a couple of the equipment boxes inside the existing structure. So it's staff's opinion that they meet the non-substantial modification requirements. Just as a reminder, the proposed changes to the zoning amendments that are forthcoming that we have not had a public hearing on, one of the changes is that these non-substantial modifications be pulled out of Plan Commission and Board meetings and would just require staff approval in the future. So with that, the determination does need to be made by the town board with a recommendation by the Plan Commission that it actually is a non-substantial modification. So I have 4 conditions of approval. One is that the modifications will be consistent with the documents that are presented in the application, and the rest are standard conditions.
So, we'll take this first. Plan Commission. It reads that the Town of Vernon Plan Commission recommendation to the Town of Vernon Board regarding the non-substantial communications out. So, Plan Commission. Any comments, questions? We've had these before. How many have we had already, Sean, with this?
This is my 3rd or 4th,
Yeah,
I think.
they're changing over to the 5G.
We have 3 pending.
From the 4 gig to the 5 gig. So,
I'll make a motion recommending to the town board to, regarding the non-substantial telecommunication tower modification request.
With the 4 conditions stated by the planner, Supervisor
Yes.
Millies? Thank you, sir.
I will second the motion.
okay. Any more discussion? All right, Plan Commission. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it for the Plan Commission. All right, item C is Town Board action regarding non-substantial telecommunication mobile tower request from Chicago SNSA-LP at the location South 81 West 26220 National Avenue. That is by Fire Station 2 also, same one. So, this is now the Town Board. Any comments from the Town Board, gentlemen?
Sean, is this normally just like an upgrade? The technology's improved to the point where they changing out the antennas and putting new style antennas or something on it?
That's exactly it. They're just swapping antennas out and some of the cabling and equipment in the ground that corresponds.
Just the
height.
with the
height is not changing. The width is not changing. Nothing. It's pretty standard stuff, and that's why the state basically says if you determine that it's non-substantial based on those 3 factors, that it has to be approved if it's determined that way.
The equipment that they're changing out on the ground, now that's inside the little shed there they have, or the little building or whatever, so you won't be able to see it either.
Correct.
It's to support the new antennas equipment. Okay, we got a recommendation from the Plan
I
Commission.
recommend that we go along with the Plan Commission's recommendation and approve the
Request.
proposal in front of us regarding the tower for Verizon, proposed antenna change.
With the 4 conditions as
With the
stated.
4 conditions as stated by the Plan Commission, or approved by the Plan Commission.
Second.
Any more discussion?
there money involved?
Pardon?
Is there any fees involved? We can make anything with the change?
Not on this.
Not on this one.
This is when they get a new partner, and I have to say, with Sean and Vince, your staff looking at these requests, they know specifically well, just so if you ever hear this from the attorney, they know clearly what a non-substantial request is versus a substantial.
Yeah,
Not
and
substantial, we
if it's
have no
substantial,
fees
it's a conditional use and it's coming for the plan commission and the board, for sure.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
We in a master plan? Should move that.
Discussion on the plan amendments to the Town of Vernon master plan. Sean?
We're going to put the maps up on the screen so it's easy to
Right by your head.
to kind of see.
That's all right.
And so, Mr. Chairman, this is a little bit your item too,
Yep.
and the fact that it has to do with the things we talked about last month in terms of the land uses that are surrounding the village of Big Bend and what they have planned versus what the town has planned, and making sure that the town isn't, more conservative necessarily than the village is, as a way to make it more attractive for property owners in the town to develop in the town versus developing in the village. So I have some maps. I basically have the town's plan, and I've overlaid the village's plan on top of it, and also the county's plan. So we can kind of go around and turn them off and on and kind of see what the land uses are planned for those areas. And we can discuss in terms of what the...
Sean, does it have to go on the other side?
It may, I don't, like I said, I have not used this one before.
The sound is extra. Did you go into a file?
No, like I said, I don't know. I've never used the USB input, and maybe my computer doesn't have the same. I'll try this one. Let's see if that one works. Do you happen to have another the VGA cable, the blue with the blue ends on it? Because I know that would work.
Is it blue?
Yeah, with the
Yeah, it looks like a psychedelic. Yeah, no kidding.
Is this VG?
The other thing, I'm sure we're going to tell our borders for this.
You said VGA.
Yeah, the blue cables that plug into.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, here's what I can do. I can just
Yeah.
5 years because it's a certain program. that you're not gonna-
Oh, shit. You go to my office, I can see it.
If not, we can just talk to the maps as you
Yeah,
have
around
it.
there, at least you.
What's that?
You can do it from your, just do it as you have planned here.
One city before.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was my eyes.
No.
Yeah, this will.
Really?
Here,
So damn shit.
projector TV cable.
Dude, we're too old.
Can I ask for senior versions of these maps?
You're about to see them right up here.
Wow.
That's one, this one here. The first
There we
one.
go.
Oh, come on.
Works.
Yay. I'm just gonna, you adjust yours, I'm just gonna adjust the
Yeah, okay.
screen.
Yeah.
Sean, I'm gonna try to
Off that.
Can you blow it up from where you're at? Not. Oh, that's pretty. That must be Vernon.
That is super.
Yeah, that's Vernon's waterfront. Yeah. Thanks for bearing with us. It'll just take a second to pop the maps up.
Sean, if I may, you heading for maps? Pull up a map, or what are you doing?
Yes, I'm going to pull up some maps.
This one?
Land use?
That's the one. Yep.
Primary? Okay.
Yep.
Because can't read anything, the legend down here.
I know, and you won't be able to read it in mine either. But I'll tell you what the uses are.
Okay.
We can't blow them up on that one? No?
We can, but they're really fuzzy.
Oh,
It's the villages from their website, and it's real fuzzy.
Village of,
Big Ben.
Big Ben, yeah.
okay.
Okay, so this is the town's map.
oh, there we go.
Oh, much better.
Okay, and I made it. I put the village's current boundary in bold black. So you can see the village. It's white here, but obviously they've since annexed this as well. So the town's plan has that shown as residential, and then the blue is recreational. But that's since been annexed into the village of Big Bend, as far as I know. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So that our map is out of date in terms of that particular land use. So just kind of going around, I will just talk about what the village has planned, or we have planned as a town. So the hatched area is residential.
Is that RRD 5?
That's a zoning district.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So that's our low density residential. And so we have 1.5 to 4.9 acres per dwelling unit in that area. So that's our mid-range residential. So we have, which is less dense, is the rural residential, which requires 5 acres per unit, and the medium density is 0.75 to 1.49. So the lowest density in the town is the light yellow, or the yellow, and the brown is our highest density, which is our medium. Okay, so it's not technically high, but it's a medium. So if you kind of look around, we have some of that planned here, across the way, some very low density stuff planned here along Big Bend Road in the town. We have some transition commercial planned along National Avenue, which is the Scafidi site plan of operation that we didn't get to tonight yet is in that area as well. So it's sort of a corridor that's envisioned for it may stay residential for now, but eventually, slowly over time, it's going to be transitioned and so on. So there's also a lot of environmental corridor that's nearby as well. As you go further south, you'll see that there's a lot of areas that are already mostly developed adjacent to the village of Big Bend. So you have entire subdivisions that are adjacent to the village that are developed here and on the sides here and here. So those areas aren't likely to redevelop at any rate. Some of this might in the future, depending. That's possible that could be redeveloped as well. So one thing that'll help us is if I just kind of go back and forth and flip between the towns and the village's plan. So if I show you theirs, and now it's a little fuzzy, but that's the best resolution that we could get off of their website for now, and that's probably the copy that you have is probably a little fuzzy as well. So you can see that if I turn off the counties here. The village has this entire area planned for commercial uses. They also have this quadrant planned for commercial as well. And I have a red box around it because that's kind of a conflict with the town's use. If you turn off the villages again, you'll see that the town has that plan for residential, where the village has that plan for commercial. I mentioned to Karen before, I was looking at our smart growth plan, and when the text of this was written, it stated pretty clearly in there that the town of Vernon and the village of Big Bend, the land uses were the same. Basically, very, very similar land uses around the entire border, and that there was no conflicts whatsoever. That text obviously hasn't been updated recently, because there are obviously some differences.
Is that the Bauer farm? Right there,
Is that 40 acres or whatever that the president of the village, or that Walker's owned?
I think that's about 20.
No,
that's further south on.
That's the Bauer property.
I mean further north.
It's the Bauer farm.
64.
Isn't that where
That's got to be Bauer's
fruit
area.
stand is?
That's the Bauer farm. Yep.
Yeah,
That's where the Craig stand is on the Bauer farm.
right on that corner.
So long term, that's seen as as commercial in the village.
Wonderful.
A couple of other areas that are where they see commercial and we our plan doesn't necessarily show commercial are these other red boundaries as well. If I turn off their plan, you can see that in those boundaries we still show residential uses there. And I don't know how big of a deal that is for the backs of some of these properties, but this intersection here, this the north portion of Guthrie and National, they certainly see that as commercial. So that's something to think about as well. I think I pointed this out last time when we talked about it. The village doesn't have sewer. We don't have sewer. You're basically limited to lot sizes of 20,000 square feet or more. Our densest residential district allows 20,000 square foot lots, but our plan itself doesn't really allow you to develop at those densities. The largest density, or the most dense you can have, is 0.7 acres per dwelling unit, which is, if you're just doing lots, that's like a 3/4 acre lot, is as small as you can go. You can obviously preserve more open space and do small lots if you wanted to do 20,000 square foot lots, rezone those R4 and preserve the rest. That would still work under medium density residential, but you'd still have to meet those densities. Overall, you couldn't be more than 0.75 acres per dwelling unit. So I think that's some of the things that Chairman Bird was trying to point out, that we can't really get there. We can't get to those densities
unless we change some of that.
Unless you look at the plan and
No,
change.
I'm changing it for the whole town.
No,
Just the border.
Just
along the border.
you get in the game with these guys and try to keep these properties in town.
And so if you look at the map again, so this subdivision is never going to be.
Never what?
This subdivision is what it is, right? So
Yeah,
there's no.
I live right there.
Yeah, so there's no use worrying about that. That is what.
Good.
So we need to look at the properties that are actually going to make an impact. I mean, this is all developed
Surrounded
here.
by-
We exactly. So you have this area here.
That's me,
Up Big Bend Road, we've already had requests right up there.
Oh, right here, yes.
Yep, those people have already
This area
made-
here, and what there's obviously some larger lots in there, but it's sandwiched between the village. This whole area is planned for commercial in the village.
Right.
That's commercial.
And those-
That
That's
yellow
commercial.
section going up there, they're licking their chops on that, and people are gonna go into Big Bend if we don't do something with that.
So if you look at the
That section along Big Bend Road there,
Right.
Tom?
Yep.
Right there.
So Big Bend also has a plan for residential. They don't have a plan for commercial either. And if you look across the road,
Yes.
you can see across the road is also residential, but this whole back portion of the property is commercial. So they see it long term as
Give
residential.
those people the ability to put smaller lots in there, and stay in the town.
Yeah.
Looks like those lots are pretty
Pretty
narrow.
divided on the south side here, right?
Yeah, but most of those lots, the property owners that have called me just want to split it one more time.
I see.
They don't want a road in, they just want to split it once again, but they'd like to
Make
split it
the
once
lots
and
all
saying,
one.
yeah, yep. And they have the frontage.
But some of these smaller ones won't be able to be split because they won't meet our subdivision ordinance standards for lot frontage and
Right.
so on. So unless it was consolidated and houses ripped down, so it's really just a matter of probably, we can plan the whole thing the same, but in reality, there's just going to be a couple of those lots that have potential
Well,
to be
if we
split
don't
off.
do something for them, in reality, guess where they're gonna go?
Sure.
Yeah.
And that,
Particularly if they want to split their lot.
Yeah.
And that's a fair point. So that area makes sense to me. The area west of 164, south of Skyline, also has some potential for
Yeah.
further development
Yep.
because they certainly can reach over and that's easily annexable. Whether or not we plan this node as commercial to match the village might be something to think about as well.
I think everything along 164 should be considered business or commercial development or something, because 164 is going to be a busy road. Who wants your house up against that?
And you don't wanna build a small house on that road.
No.
You get more money if it was commercially zoned anyways for that.
With the high traffic area, it'd be more beneficial to
These-
business than.
Does anyone know? I don't have an aerial photograph, but I can open it up and maybe I'll do that because
think only one has a house on it.
Only one of those has a home?
It's the old Kimrow house. That's
The corner one on 164
It's
in
Volkansky's.
Skyline is that, and then there's one south, and then
the one guy that wanted to turn it into commercial.
there are 3 houses there on those lots.
Right, where
So it's
are we?
more
Oh,
north.
brother, yeah, right there.
Is he still looking at Tom? Looking at,
I haven't heard anything from him.
you know, if we did that, would that give us a chance to jump across the road and get Bauer as well if we, you know, did something to make commercial available to that property?
Yeah, I don't see the.
So there's a house at the
I don't see
corner?
why that
Yep.
couldn't be
There's a house here as well.
commercial all the way up.
Yeah.
Well, there's a house on every single one of them.
Oh yeah, there
Yeah.
is.
They give them the option of commercial.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, they don't
Might be
have.
a nice tavern on the corner.
Yeah, even if it's residential, that's a.
Tear down the.
Are you looking for a wine distribution center? Commercial's obviously a much higher tax, I assume, than farm. So, how would you go about taking what's farmland right now, Bowers, and turning it into commercial?
You don't.
Just rezone it.
Not until they.
He's talking about land use, not zoning right now.
Not
Just
zoning, land use.
Yeah.
It would stay what it is.
If we use it as commercial.
It would stay what it is right now till it gets,
So whoever owns it
Somebody
comes
owns it.
forward, yeah.
comes
Yeah.
forward with it.
How do we entice them to come to us instead of Big Ben, I guess would be the
you
question.
change your land use plan.
Huh?
You change your land use plan. The land use dictates what the zoning should be.
Yeah, so whatever your land use plan says, it determines what they can ask for in terms of a rezone or a development. So
That's what we're trying to do. Now, do we
But-
actually have to do a map change, or do we just have to do text?
you got to do both.
Why do we gotta do
You have to
both?
do both because the text and the map have to be consistent. And right now the text talks about where commercial's allowed, where density's
That's not
allowed,
specific.
the density ranges and so on. So whatever it is we change on the map, we got to make sure that the text coincides, the language
Yeah.
coincides.
That makes sense.
There's not, I don't know if there's a ton of text changes that have to happen, but there's a certain number of paragraphs that have to be updated
There's a lot of reading and verifying,
to
right?
that's right, to coincide with the text changes. And so we'll also have to look at the county's plan for these areas because the county is going to want consistency.
You should
Don,
show.
can
You should show them
When
the.
you're talking, you drop your voice way down at the end, and my hearing.
Oh, my apologies.
Thank you.
We should show them the conflicts in the county plan.
Yeah, so let's look at the county plan.
Yeah. Does our plan necessarily have to coincide with the counties, Sean?
It doesn't necessarily have to. They'd obviously like to see consistency, but if it happens to be within a shoreline zoned area,
Then it has to.
then it has to. Or if someone comes forward and asks for a subdivision plat,
Yeah.
the county approves subdivision plats, and they're not going to approve a subdivision plat that doesn't match their comprehensive
Okay.
plan. So a CSM that is outside of shoreline zoning, it might not matter so much, but if it's a bigger development, it would need to be consistent.
Can you zoom out, Sean,
Yeah.
where it shows the conflict? Because the county's picked up the village's plan. They have to, don't they, Sean?
Right. The county has no oversight over the village's plan itself. So I'm trying to zoom
So
out.
would it be up to date at this point? Is
This is 2035, the county's 2035 plan.
Oh.
See where it says Town of Vernon conflicts with Village of Big Bend?
yeah.
I'm trying to move there. It's
Sorry, Sean.
slow moving.
Oh, yeah, right down there at the bottom.
But again, I think that's a little outdated too, because as I pointed out, there was some commercial properties planned in the Village of Big Bend that aren't in the town's plan either. So the last time, whenever the county or the village updated their plan map, the county has not since updated theirs as well.
What's the purple? Is that a TID district?
The purple is... No, they have a... The village actually has a TID district for most of this interchange area itself.
Jeez.
Promote. Tom, I'd say we want to start.
All right, you see what we're doing here, right?
Yeah.
see what we wanna do here. Does anybody have any problems right now with what we're thinking about? Okay, that's good. So we gotta deal with the business districts, right, Sean? The B1 or B3 business, right? To match the county where we can.
I'm not following, sorry.
National Avenue.
To match the village, you mean?
No, to match the village, I thought we were gonna match,
So the village has these areas planned for commercial.
well, but they don't,
Oh,
they don't own it.
No, but if it's annexed, it could be developed as commercial.
Well, it's gotta be contiguous. We just went through that and they ain't gonna get anything that's not contiguous.
Well,
Well,
this one's
that one
certainly-
is right next to it, the Bower Farm's right next to it, and across the
That
street.
one, yeah, but that stuff up in
But
there.
some of, well, this one is yeah, these are not.
Mm-mm.
And those aren't as important anyways because, they're kind of back ends of properties and so on. But, this particular intersection still might be a good candidate for,
us?
to consider commercial uses there.
Yeah. Is that Guthrie?
That's Guthrie and National, right?
Yeah. There's already businesses around there.
Yeah, because you have the corner of Evergreen and National as business.
All right, let's go south now. We beat this one to death there. What do we got here?
Let me turn off the county's plan because the county's is hard to see. So the village's boundary comes down Interstate 43, right? So it gives them opportunity to,
Yeah, I think they're
potentially
cool.
annex further west. They reach a little further that way.
What's that?
So the question is, what areas?
I'm sorry, Sean, what?
What areas, how far do we go in looking at higher densities on the west end here? Obviously, again, these subdivisions are not concerning. It's more, these lots here are the ones where we want to consider some higher densities.
And those are so long and deep.
These long, deep ones are probably not likely to be divided and developed in any other fashion that they currently are, but there's some bigger properties in here that, that might warrant that. Here,
No, never say never.
if it's
So
consolidated,
the landholders went together and wanted to do something and.
Put a cul-de-sac in or something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he just looks for contiguous property. He'd buy anything non-usable just to keep contiguous. So we gotta look at everything there, I think.
you don't start to get to the really big properties though until you get down in this area, right?
Yeah, and that's the Chalice property. There's,
And that's it's a ways from their boundaries.
Yep.
It's nothing nearby.
Can you get rid of that right there?
I sure can.
Okay. And can you slide that? There you go. All right.
So
it's Muskego, where it says Pinecrest. That's the city of Muskego,
where's that?
where your little hand
Oh,
is.
yes,
That's
this is Muskego.
Yep, so. See that one property about where Pinecrest is? There's a potential, right? Yep, that one big vacant one there. Nope, up,
Right above it.
right there.
Right there.
The Hanson
Okay.
property. That's
With
a,
it?
I think it's a plumber, I think it's Hanson. I'm not 100% sure, but that's one that they should
It
look
is
at.
now, but that's contiguous to the city itself. So there's obviously different pressures there.
Right,
that
yeah.
The city can offer a lot more than the
And
village can.
it's the Painted Dolan Pit. There's no sewer and water right there now either.
Not nearby.
No.
Now remember, even though they're offering sewer and water, that sign was up on 164 for years and years. They don't have the money.
Yeah.
There's no way with their finances that
To,
they're
to,
ever
to,
gonna
extend,
highlight
to
that.
extend it.
Can you slide that down?
Well, that'd be the Muskego if they would.
Right, that's the city.
Yeah.
And so these areas are all developed. Here we have a natural boundary, the streams and
Natural
wetlands and
forest
so on. So here, though, We have some larger
Yeah.
properties.
That's potential there. Is that the Falk? That's artesian, right?
The road.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's
Yep.
something that we should look at, that artesian.
Yep.
Bill, didn't you list that Falk property or Calk property years ago?
Yeah, we're just adjacent to Calk, yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not Calk.
It's the old Calk farm, I don't...
Mary.
Oh, no, I'm talking, see the little see that little
Yes.
box right up there, way up. Now go over a little bit west, up, right there.
Yeah.
Here's
That
the
one,
pointer,
that one,
too.
that one, we get
yeah,
calls on
that's
that all the
right.
time to divide that property.
That's
Those
five
two
acre.
that are right
You're
next.
right, that's 5 acre
Yeah.
remnant of Calk,
Yeah, and so in the town, these are 5 acre density. You need,
Yeah.
you need to have
Correct.
10
So-
acres to get 2 lots out of them.
Those are people that call and say, hey, would be able to divide it right now? No.
And they can't, right.
What, if we were to go to our,
Low density.
smallest lot size, is there a limit to how much frontage they have to have on the road then? What's the,
There's always the subdivision, let me see what it says.
you know, some of those narrow ones, maybe we would split it in two. I mean, how much frontage do you have to have to?
Right.
Just in a minimum of 150 feet.
In R4, it could be.
Change it.
R4 is 120 feet.
R4 is 120.
Right.
R4 is the highest density.
It is 20. Well, it allows
1 is
20,000.
low, 4 is high, I'm just trying to keep that.
Exactly.
Okay.
According to the matrix, Sean, the R3 allows for planned unit development, correct? So if we did R3 development, that's 20,000 square feet per parcel, allow them to go to quarter or a third acre, keep some open area.
You can do that. It still has, but the plan is still the thing that's stopping that from happening, because the plan dictates the overall density. And so if you can never get more than 0.75 acres per unit,
You mean the plan, what plan?
the
Master plan.
the map, the comprehensive plan.
So we change it.
Right. That's the way you get around that.
Yeah.
So we can do what Bill just mentioned with
You
this.
can, as long as the plan is changed.
So we map change and verbiage and we got it.
Right.
There's no way
We
of
have to
getting,
create another
we're
zone.
gonna have to change map and text in them areas.
And so the county is
No way
probably going to
around
have
it.
some concerns about 20,000 square foot lots.
Yeah,
That's
but I think we can work with the county.
we definitely will.
Because
And
they
I'll,
know if it goes to the village, they lose control.
correct. And the village is
And
doing
the town,
20,000 square foot
we
lots
still
anyways.
have the
A
wetland
little bit,
control.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now look at the land that the village took with that cemetery, they took a bunch of that environmental corridor.
Yeah.
County lost that, that's it. That's the same way with that right there, that green, see that stuff? That's contiguous, so all of that stuff down in there,
Yeah.
But don't
They
they
could
still
take
have to in other words, once they take over environmental corridor, they
Yes.
can use,
that's their property.
I mean, they don't have to follow the rules of the environmental corridor of
Yeah,
the
but
county
it's,
or anybody
what it
else?
does, Eddie, it makes it contiguous.
Yeah. It gives them access.
Well, I know why you did it, yeah.
That's why they do it.
Sean, where would we be?
And I
at?
think there are different rules.
So you have no plan to change the environmental corridor?
I don't think they can.
Minimum
Well,
for septic,
thinking
because
use
we're not gonna get.
contiguous.
20,000.
It'd all be mounds, I'm sure.
20,000 is the rule of thumb
The
for
lowest, that's the
for lot
lowest we can
size.
go.
That's the rule of thumb, yeah. And it depends on the soils, and it depends on the topography of the lot and everything else. So you're not always going to be able to get lots that small everywhere, but that's the lowest that's even considered for
Because of the
But
septic
we
system.
can,
because
we
of
can
the
do a
septic
lot
system.
better than we're doing.
Unless you have common open space, as you mentioned, with shared septic systems and septic systems that are in the common area.
That was my next
Works as
question.
well.
Is it overall density or is it per designated parcel? So you're kind of saying it's
Overall.
overall. Good. Yeah, that would be good.
You want to go further south, Tom?
Yeah,
Shared septic is still allowed under the law.
It is. So we have a lot of environmental corridor down in the south end, but, you know, over on the east side, there's a lot of land
Yep.
that's planned for a lower density residential in the town.
That's just,
Canterbury.
right there
South
is
is farm.
Edinburgh, but that small side right there is what we're dealing with now.
Yeah,
That one right there, yeah.
where they don't have a plan for the water.
And there's Salentan's property. Who owns that other property up there, Karen? The next one south of Salentan.
I don't know.
I don't either.
I think it's King. The King Farm.
Okay.
I'll look, Sean, you do
Then
that.
We've got those over there on Hannaberry there. That,
That's
I
a lot.
would sure hate to lose that because that's all nice property there.
Bless you.
That definitely we gotta do something with.
So that's sort of the extent of the areas.
There's not a lot of them, but we need to, you know,
My goal would be to identify all the properties along Big Bend's border that could have, be subject to a density change. Identify them and change them. And then if you need discussion on how small we want the lots or how high density we want,
Well,
we could make that
I think
part of the discussion.
the lowest end is
20.
20,000 square foot for
Yeah,
lot size.
period.
So
does anybody,
But what about
and that's
3?
not for the rest of the town, that's just for these areas to
Right.
keep them in that. Does anybody have a problem with that? With the 20,000?
No.
Plan commission member?
20,000 is half acre,
Just
Everybody
under.
understands what we're trying to do.
approximately a half acre.
We ain't trying to do that through the whole town, we're just trying to,
I'm wondering, like, Salentan's property there on Highway, or Janesville Road and Crowbar, that could almost be considered business.
It's already R1. That's the only big farm in the town that remained
Salentan.
R1.
R1.
And that whole parcel, that's all Salentan, all the way to Henneberry.
I
Is,
don't know what the,
well,
with
it's,
the gravel pit
really
across the street, I don't
the
know.
King
what's
property
gravel
now.
on that side, if they wanna
no,
do that, you know,
put a gravel pit there?
yeah, I don't know how much gravel's over that
I don't know how
side.
much gravel's under there.
Yeah, I don't either. One's across
Because
the
the water
street.
table that goes to the south, then the water table comes up, right, Bill?
Well, you got the one across the street.
I understand
I
it.
don't know what's on, where
Yeah.
that gravel
I
main
don't-
runs.
I don't
oh, Panadolin does.
either. Oh, I'm sure they
Yeah.
do.
Sean, that R4 though, that's gotta drop below 20,000 square feet then, right?
What do you mean?
You're talking about R4 as an option to rezone.
Right.
That's less than 20,000.
It's 20,000.
Oh, it is 20?
Mhm.
Oh.
Right. And we can use that in the town. It's just you can't fill out a development with those lots because you'd have to preserve enough open space to meet the density that's in our plan. So the question is though, if we do allow density at that range, what about preservation of some open space? Is that a priority, or is that, because then we'd have to change the densities to accommodate that?
You talking about a common area or
Yeah,
just linear lane?
yes, a common area. Are we
You're
gonna
gonna lose,
lose some
That gets
lots?
tough.
you're gonna
layout,
lose
though,
lots,
doesn't
and you
Yeah.
lose lots, you're losing, I would say those lots, if, after they're improving stuff, are gonna go for 60, 70 grand. You lose a lot, that's a lot of money.
You know, the developer's gonna go, we're gonna get the most lots,
Yeah,
because he's not worried about what the property taxes will be or what community he's in, he's just looking to sell them and be gone.
the 65, 70 grand
Yeah.
lot, that's what he's looking at.
So I don't think we can tie in green space to these areas.
And so this would be a new plan category that would be designated just for specific border areas. Wouldn't be applicable anywhere else. The plan would specify that these are only select areas based on certain things.
Right, and the text would slip.
And
right,
so
and the
someone
matrix.
couldn't just ask for a change to their plan somewhere in the middle of nowhere to those same densities. We wouldn't allow that.
No, we wouldn't allow that.
And so these are areas that border the village,
Yeah.
that are that are similar densities to that of the village, as a
Since we can't work in any kind of agreement with the village, it's a way for us to secure our borders, at least.
give an option, right? At
Yeah,
least give a
right.
comparable option. You want to stay in the
People have
town,
to
here's
think
what you can
about it,
do.
Or they would jump,
Right.
you know. Right now, they'll jump.
Well, Sean, due to their tax increases over the last couple of years, we have a big advantage.
Right, that's right.
If we give them the same options.
Right.
There you go, yep.
So we're just trying to level the playing field, so to say.
So I guess what I would propose to do is I would highlight those areas based on what we talked about tonight. I want to talk to the county about their opinion and some of the ideas that they may have for it, just so we can get them on board.
Well,
'Cause-
you can schedule that meeting, I'll go with you.
okay, sounds good.
That's absolutely.
Is there a public hearing required for text amendments? And
There's a class 1 30-day notice public hearing for comprehensive plan amendments.
their deadline is January 15th.
If we're changing theirs, they do, I know under certain circumstances, they will amend their plan potentially at other times of the year, but they don't do it often.
What can we do to kind of keep this under the
Radar.
radar until we have to pop it?
To the,
I mean,
to
if
the
we-
county?
As soon as they become aware of this, I have very little doubt they'll be attacking every piece of property around that border, so.
Well, the other thing is that, our smart
Oh,
growth,
yes.
our smart growth plan has certain procedures for amending the plan, and one of them is distributing draft copies to all surrounding municipalities. So that's the idea, is to be transparent about it, so the village is going to comment on the proposed uses.
They're gonna see it up there.
But it'd be tough if we're meeting matching or mirroring
Yeah,
theirs.
if we're not doing anything out of the ordinary. Now, I have to take I haven't looked closely at their density ranges because I hadn't gotten a chance to look at a full copy of their plan yet, but we'll do that. I want to see what the densities that they actually have planned on those areas that we'll identify are and how far off we are on them, because maybe we won't have to go so dense if we can be consistent with what they have.
Earlier on, you had given a proposal when we had asked for this for the whole update.
Yeah,
I'd like to ask stay focused on that portion of it as a priority one.
sure.
But,
Well,
Well, some of those areas too, say if you're trying to, might have to go as dense, but if they see what our plan is, all of a sudden they'll change theirs, so it's denser.
They can't.
They can't, they don't have sewer.
well, they could.
Yeah, they gotta stay within the same
But you
limitations
say
we
that
have.
if it's not,
If one area they have planned for 1 unit per, for 3 acres, and it's similar to ours, and we go, or we match it, we come down a little bit to match it, yes. What you're saying
they're
is that
just
they
gonna
could,
jump farther ahead of us then, so
I
I think
thought
we should
they
just.
cut the pickow up into quarter-acre lot available. They had I remember that took place. They
They
reduced
still have to,
they reduced the density, or increased the
The only,
density on the
the
pickup
smallest they
property.
can go, Sean, is 20,000, correct?
that's the lowest it can go, without sewer.
In the village.
so they approve their own septic system. So
Right. In the village?
I don't know what their village engineers ultimately would approve, but that's a rule of thumb for lot sizes. They could potentially go lower, but I do know that their smallest residential lot size in their zoning district is 20,000 square feet.
Well, they have trouble with the environmental, health people approving anything smaller than 20.
But they approve their own
Yeah.
I'm
septic
almost
systems. as a
positive
village.
that pickup property.
They
was
approve
quarter
theirs.
acre.
Well, the county doesn't approve their septic
That's under
systems.
20.
Yeah.
Really?
True.
They don't have any. They don't have any.
15,
They have
Yeah.
consultants?
maybe less.
No, I'm sure the county does.
Or maybe they just delegate it to the county.
20,000.
Yeah.
That's as low as we can go,
As
so
low as
that's
we can
that's
go.
where we start.
Yeah.
Not to
Don't worry
them.
about what Big Ben is, just assume we're gonna go to 20,000.
Yeah,
Give them options, at least the options are.
and see if we run into
The
issues
smallest
where
and
we
the
keep-
lowest, that we can be legal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, like on the properties on as much business and commercial as we can go then too.
To match what they have in a general sense.
Well, I need like everything along 164
Let's look at that area.
National
and
Avenue.
National. I mean, they had that one area, there's another farm
Corner.
north of that.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah, so here's National, here's 164.
three. Come down a little. Yeah. There.
Yeah, it was these areas here, right?
Yeah.
So how far, to probably makes sense all the way to the wetlands.
Yep.
Right.
Uh,
How far west?
To Tom's house.
Borders, Town Line Road.
To Tom's house?
Yeah.
I know what it doesn't feel there.
I'm kidding.
To where?
No.
Yeah, the terrain there is not very conducive for, you know,
They don't come up any further west. do they?
Well,
They don't.
you could go to the Aqua Farm.
Is that this?
Yeah. I think there's
That
like
kind of makes sense.
29 acres there. You know, if that was smaller lots.
And then north as well, maybe this quadrant.
Yeah, and that's
the Bauer farm.
the Bauer Farm. There are those three houses in there now.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
Yeah, that
with,
map's not current.
with that, so, yeah, it would be, let's see that whole thing there.
There's 4 houses in there now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, the village also has that planned as, at least
Yeah,
this,
that
this,
one.
this portion as commercial, but it kind of makes sense to come all the way out.
the one to the north there too.
And they have that as commercial as well.
That's the village.
That's the village, yeah.
Okay.
Where they did some lousy allowances.
Okay, so we have some commercial plan there, and then we also talked about
National.
Yeah, match it over there too.
national, yeah, matching what they have for national. Filling in a couple of those areas, and then
We
at
had talked about
Guthrie.
that one time, that whole corridor or whatever up there
Yeah.
would be business.
Well, and I believe it goes all the way to Evergreen Drive.
And so I wonder then if we just we have this as transitional now, sort of not full blown commercial, but I wonder if it makes sense then to these few areas that we're filling in, like on Guthrie, to keep that as transitional commercial, or are we saying the whole corridor as commercial?
Well, transitional.
Transitional is a very sort of a more careful look at things, tied to, you know, like the Scafidi proposal we just talked about. You know, it's more locked down. It's saying you can do this, but it's going to be limited to this. You're not getting a blanket rezone for any commercial you want. We want to make sure it's fully compatible with the residential that exists, because it is a transitioning area, not really a commercial
Yeah, we
area.
want to put a foundry in there.
Right, right.
Industry. maybe.
Well, let's go quite far.
That's, you got that loose CD oil place going.
Oh, yeah, we got that marijuana joint coming.
Yeah.
Big Ben.
Well, the oil, what's it called?
Not hemp.
Seafood, some.
Right.
Hemp oil.
Right, hemp oil.
Does anybody want to work with Sean and Karen? Karen, you're going to be working with them, right? Doing some
Yeah,
of this?
but you're pretty capable.
I'm gonna draft a map. I'll obviously run it by Karen, and we'll talk
Okay.
about it. I want to talk to the county about it, get their
And you're going to go
opinion,
with
and then-
I'll
Sean.
go with the county.
Right. And then why don't we just see what happens with that first
Yeah.
take?
Okay, Bill, do you want to work
Sure,
with?
be glad to.
You
Yeah.
know,
Most of the.
I'll include you on all the correspondence and the maps, and we can
Yeah,
talk
that'd
about
be
it.
good.
Okay.
Okay. Is anybody else, or is that fine with everybody? That I want to keep this going and keep it, everybody's involved.
In practicality, Sean, if we were to go ahead and make these land use changes, how long would it be to implement something like that? By the time everything is said and done, how long a procedure is this?
It's again, whenever we decide that we're good with the land uses, it's just 30 days out from there for
Tomorrow.
a hearing.
It could be right away?
Well,
We
it
have to
could
do
be
a public
it could be in a
hearing.
couple months.
Okay, all right.
Couple months.
I was just looking down the road,
But
is
if
it a
we-
year, 2 years,
As
or?
soon as he gets a map done and we get a cursory
Go to a
look at
public
it, we
hearing?
go to a public hearing. As
Sure,
far
I'd
as
like
I'm
to look at it,
concerned,
try
that's
to
a
push it. We
done
have
deal.
elections in April.
There's people who
I'd like
want
to get this done before elections.
Yeah,
Sure.
If possible, I'd like that wrapped up.
okay.
that's one of the problems too, working Village Big Ben says, we can approve that at our next town meeting.
And they get away, yeah.
Or we gotta wait,
They have to do the same notices. They have to do.
They have to
the
do
same-
30 days too.
yeah, but if we gotta go through this whole process, and it take 3 months, people may not wait either, so we gotta get it done now.
Okay. Well, we'll get going on it right away.
Okay.
Okay, good. Anything else? Comments, wise?
No, I think tomorrow or the day before is great.
Tomorrow or the day.
Well, there's no Christmas for you.
That's gonna go and make his land offers now.
Yeah, I'm gonna run out and try to buy up some property.
They're not gonna
There you
do
go.
the text amendments and all this together, are they?
Okay, item E, Plan Commission Town Board Review action to set the public hearing dates for.
For the text amendments, for this,
The
this,
zoning.
yeah,
For the comp plan.
yeah, no, are they two separate issues, or are they trying to, okay, so they they could authorize the public hearing and everything for these, like now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just not the comp plan.
Okay,
So, Plan Commission Town Board Review and action on set the public hearing dates. Number one, zoning text and matrix amendments throughout the ordinance. We're all done with that, right, Sean? Pretty
Yeah,
much?
you've seen it. Attorney Macy has commented on it. The county has commented on it. It's in a state now where I think it's ready to go to public hearing, and
Okay,
so it's a number of things. It's a map change to get rid of R1A zoning, to replace it with R1 because they're identical. It's a change to the Enterprise Drive
Bless you.
B3 conditional zoning to rezone that to straight B3
that's number two.
because we've made some changes to the use matrix so that everything is included now. And then it's overall text changes that we talked about throughout the ordinance, sort of housekeeping items and so on that would encompass the entire ordinance. So it's those three things that would be changing.
it's just a class one?
Class 2 notice for
Okay,
zoning.
okay.
Is Exhibit A cleaned up and ready to roll now? All those little minor things that were discussed on that? taken care of?
The matrix?
Yeah.
Yes. Unless you have other
No, I
clarifications.
think we had some markups on the previous discussion we
Correct.
had on it.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so then we got, number 4 is a master plan amendment. Was that for that, master plan amendments for the master plan item E? That one we don't need yet on there, so it's 1, 2, and 3, correct?
Correct.
So is there a motion? Set the public hearing date?
When do we wanna set it for?
Karen's looking.
After January, after the holidays?
Yeah, let them tell us when it
Could be
gets
the
done.
second, 26th.
Because it's gonna be the commission on it.
On that day
We do
before
it the
yesterday,
ninth on our
sure,
planning
tomorrow.
commission.
Yep.
January 9th.
I better not go to yesterday, huh?
Tom, how fast do you want to do it?
March,
Oh, February for sure.
February?
We could do it on our plan commission date on February 13th.
We can't do it in January?
Can you get everything? I can,
There's nothing for me to do. I mean, you have to prepare the
note,
ordinance
yeah.
language.
after the public hearing.
Oh, you guys do it after the public
Yeah,
hearing?
we
Okay.
hold the public hearing. So if I do a class 2, it's 2 weeks consecutive before. So if we do it on the 9th on our
Mhm.
next plan commission, I could do my notice on January 2nd and December 26th and the 19th, if I get it typed up quick.
Sure.
So what date? February?
January 9th, your
January
next,
9th?
That would be the next plan commission.
Okay.
January 9th, our next plan commission meeting?
Yeah, if you
You
can
could
get
do
the
that the
noticing
first-
done, yes. Sure.
Chugging right along.
Computer to work.
It says planning commission and town board. Is that gonna be just planning commission or both?
Oh, both.
Or separate?
We'll have a joint again. Because then the plan commission, after the public hearing, can make a recommendation to the town board.
And the town board
And
can.
then the town board can vote on it, or vote on it or approve
And
it.
the county obviously needs to approve it.
Right. Yep. I wonder if
So,
we'd want to represent it.
Is there a motion for
Okay.
a joint public hearing on the 9th and a joint town board plan commission meeting
At 6 o'clock?
at 6?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Or do you need from the plan commission or the? you need-
Does the plan commission have to make a recommendation? Yeah, okay, so it's Jeff and then you need a plan commission member. Jeff and Megan. That's what I have.
Any more discussion? All those in favor for plan commission?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now, is there a motion from the town board?
I'll make the motion. No, the first one's the plan commission, I gotta remake it for the town board.
My second.
Now you're second.
Now your second's good, Eddie.
Yeah, my second's good now.
Was that a second?
My hearing's no good, but my second's good.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. So, let's jump back up to
Hey,
site plan of operation request for Anthony Scafidi, who is not here. So,
What do we do in a case like that?
Do you want to discuss it all? Do you want to give me, we talked before the meeting a little bit about some issues.
yeah, I would think that we'd just discuss it here because I got some questions and I can't read what he's got written.
It was kind of tough.
So, plan commission first. Plan commission members, you wanna go through what, he's all got there? Well, first of all, if it's, site plan request for, Anthony Scafidi is the applicant. And, Catherine Wendorf is the owner. And the property is located at South 68 West 22850 National Avenue. And it's plan commission recommendation to the town board for site plan of operation for Anthony Scafidi. So first off, I had a hard time reading some of the stuff that he put on his site plan of operation. There were things that I couldn't understand. There were things I couldn't read. The whole thing was a mess. There were things that weren't filled in. Is there any type of music? I would assume not. No, but it's not marked. Refuge disposal is not marked. Highway access permit, that's not marked. Fencing, he's got yes, and with a front gate. Any problems with odor, smoke? But I know that he's got a fire pit or going to be burning there on one of his maps. I don't know. And then he's got item 34. He's got are there any chemical hazard or solvents stored? And he's got yes crossed out and no marked in, or is it yes marked and no? I don't understand what that is. And then he's got fertilizers, salt, fuel, oil.
And then he's got no mark for storage of gasoline and petroleum, but he's gonna have fuel oil and the one before that. It's inconsistent all the way through.
It is inconsistent, and my that was my opinion in the staff report, is that it was hard to read. There's inconsistencies. There's three options. There's a couple of phases. I couldn't make heads or tails of exactly what was going where and when. So the approach I took in the staff report is I said, okay, this is hard to read. Here's what I know for sure, and I outlined in the plan of operation what I know he wants to do in any of the options, despite where things are going to be located. So I've listed those for you in terms of what the uses are, what things are going to be covered and stored, and what things are going to be out in the open, their hours of operation, the employees, and so on. And then in the actual recommendation conditions, I took a step back and I said, well, we know we want everything behind landscaping. We don't want anything to be visible from the road. We don't want anything to be visible from neighboring property lines. We want to make sure that offsets of 20 feet from all property lines from parked vehicles, 40 feet for storage of certain materials, and so on. So I put all those things into the conditions with the idea that the Plan Commission might accept those as a way to sort of get at the major issues here in terms of what we care about: the screening, the location of things, meeting our setbacks, no storage of junk, all those things that are in our ordinances are codified in there. I completely understand if that is not good enough in terms of an approach from the Plan Commission and the board's perspective. We certainly could ask him to come back with not 3 different options with different phasing, one conclusive option that's got all the uses on there with dimensioning and setbacks and so forth, and then we might take another stab at this. And he's not here today to talk about this anyhow, so if we were directed to do so, Karen and I could let him know what we talked about, what the issues were, and have him come back with a more refined approach to the site plan.
Plan Commission, you got any comments? Myrtle? I would like to see, usually we don't have, when somebody comes in for this, they don't have phase 1 or preferred option 1, option 2, option 3. It's kind of like, well, take your pick. Well, he's supposed to be coming here to say this is what he wants for a plan of operation, period.
Yeah.
And we're gonna look at it like, this ain't Walmart, where I can go down there every aisle and just pick something. No.
Yeah, I was just looking at his option 1, that's he's got preferred in parentheses.
Yeah.
And then with that option, his driveway leads straight to the garage. And then how's he get to his stuff and back?
And it goes around out of the lot line on the other property, that's what it shows.
Yeah,
So, yeah, they took the,
can't do that.
over that.
The other issue is that even the lot lines, the boundaries that he has drawn don't even match reality. That, National Avenue is at an angle, his lot lines are different shape. He's got basically a square drawn for his property. It's not even realistic in terms
He's got a
of...
driveway listed off on the left side going
Yeah.
around there. It's like, well, that's not the scale or nothing. It looks like it's going across the other property.
He shows a garage at 25 by 25. Has anybody looked at the number of trucks he's got out there? There's no way they're fitting in that garage.
Well, his plan of operation states that he'd have... let's see, he would have 2 to 3 trailers at most, 2 to 3 snowplows at most. So he's got these things pinned down, and if we pin him down to the site plan of operation, that's what he would be limited to. I don't know what he's got out there today, but
Well, today I saw he had 2 trailers and a pickup truck for sale.
for sale out there.
Oh, he's selling them?
Well, the pickup truck's got it for sale sign. He had 2 trailers up
Because
against
I
the
saw-
fence line there.
5 trucks here that one day, probably 3 trailers, and a bucket loader, and what the heck else about, what do you call the little ones?
Skid loader?
Huh?
A skid loader?
Like a skid loader, yeah. I mean, it was just packed. And then logs all over the place. So it's a mess.
Yeah, a lot of logs there.
So what do you think, Merle?
I agree with you, it's a mess.
Nathan?
Have them come back with a plan of operation, dimensions, offsets.
We'll have another plan commission meeting in January. Nathan, what do you think?
I agree. I think it was clear from the first meeting that, he couldn't even explain his business. So it kind of seems like he doesn't even know what he wants, and I think it's evident from all of this information. So I don't think that we should take the time to make recommendations to him if he can't put in the work of.
Right. And remember, we don't have jurisdiction. These are recommendations that we need to make sure that, they can go when he goes in front of the county. Because once, he goes
They approve it.
in default or against that or breaks the conditional use, we gotta rely on the county coming in, because we can't enforce anything.
Well, the thing he's got going for him is that the front by the road is the highest, so it wouldn't take much of a berm to screen everything from the road back there so you can't see what's going on.
Right. I got a problem with the salt storage and I got a problem with the burning.
I think the county's gonna have a problem with salt storage.
Definitely, that's a pollution.
There's a lot of laws on that.
Right, there's certain restrictions that they'll have to meet to
Oh, yeah.
be able to do that.
Well, is there a minimum, or if he orders a couple pallets of salt at a time, you know, where it's already bagged.
Where's he gonna have them sitting if they're
Well,
outside?
they got them in the garage or one of those buildings.
What he's saying is that's all salt storage will be covered. That is bagged and bulk. He's going to store undercover.
Bulk, problem right away.
Yeah, bulk's
Right.
gotta be on a paved.
Well, bulk has all sorts of restrictions.
Right, and it can't be on the
Shape and
dirt.
No drainage
Yeah.
into the groundwater, et cetera.
Especially where they got wetlands back there.
Well,
Yeah.
what we had to do.
I know.
So,
I know. So, okay, what do you, plan commission members want to do with this request? Send it back to them and say,
Start over.
make a recommendation to the town board that we want to be able to have a legible
plan of operation.
plan of operation.
More to scale on the map too.
So is there a motion for that we can make a recommendation to town board?
I'll make a motion to the town board, and let's see a legible plan of operations, not 3, but 1. Tell us what you're gonna do. I wanted to mention, I wanna know what his safety package are for storage of salt and all that kind of stuff. Just, he doesn't tell us anything here. He hasn't told us anything since the last meeting.
I agree.
Who made that motion?
Merle.
Oh, you want all that stuff in that, what you just said? You just want a legible, completed site plan of operation to be presented? Okay.
I would like to see actual scale drawings. This is
Dimension.
third grade level mess we're looking at here.
This is one step up from being a bar napkin.
Basically.
That's good. That's good.
How do you measure
Legible.
lumber
Did
without?
you get that in there?
Yeah, applicant to come back with a legible, completed site
Did you put
plan of
that in the
operation.
minutes?
I didn't put bar napkin. To scale.
It's pretty bad.
I literally couldn't read over half of the stuff I looked at several times. But maybe we need part of that motion, or as a secondary motion, make him clarify some things right up front. For example, the salt storage we're talking about. Where are you putting it? He claims it's open storage of itself, which is an absolute no-no. And
I remember all the problems we had with DeLuca, that when he was burning his yard waste and branches and trees and that stuff, smoking out the people in Merrill Hill, or in your subdivision, Gary?
Yeah, yeah.
They were complaining about that?
How often is he gonna burn?
No?
How often is he gonna burn? When's he
Yeah,
gonna?
we'll get a chance. This is plan commission, sorry.
where is he?
Oh,
There's reference in there to getting landscaping done by spring of 19, I think.
That was
Okay.
my condition.
Yeah, you were very generous doing his plan of operation. Sean,
Okay.
I appreciate it, but what's bothering me is, okay, he threw out a sketch of where his proposed parking is, but we want him waiting till spring of 19 to remove topsoil, put number 3 stone down. I don't think, it's a very confusing mess because he's already in violation of so many things and he has no permit to even be on the property. So I guess it's hard to tell where to start. One truck was mentioned before, he's had a red pickup in front of the house for
We're not
3
getting
weeks.
into that, let's not get into that.
Well, what I'm saying, Tom, is I think it's
I know
more
what you're
complex than
saying.
just saying, bring us back a plan of operation.
Right.
We're gonna have another
Right.
25 open questions.
Right, but I guess to just maybe address it a little bit. So the spring of 19 date was to say all of his landscaping's got to be up, all his buffers, and all of his reseeding of his areas that have been destroyed and impacted. So at a bare minimum, those things have to happen by spring of 2019. And then whatever it is that he has for site plan and setbacks and so on, that has to be adhered to. So sounds like we just need to see dimensions, specific uses, one option. I mean, he might have a second phase of that first option, which I think in my mind that would be okay. You know, he wants to do this now, and then in 2 years he wants to add on to that first option with this. But that seems pretty clear.
Okay.
Yeah, and how far back is the wetlands from Where this is all proposed too, yeah, I don't know where the.
I don't know. So it's been moved, was there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, town board. Is there
Make a motion, we
recommendation to
concur with
send
the
this
recommendation of
back?
the plan commission.
No, I'm gonna add something. I'd like to see an architectural drawing with identifying all the property borderlines, showing where the buildings are, where the burn pit is, all the features on the drawing relative to not only the property line, but the environmental corridor in the back. So we know he's not walking right into that. He's got a burn pit listed here. We have no idea how close it is to that building.
What happens
close
when
it
the
is.
burn pit gets full of ash?
Well, yeah, it's 7 foot deep. He's got a while ago, but, you know, what's he gonna do with the ash? I'd like to know how he's gonna dispose of those used materials and where. You gonna throw them in the river? No, the drawing has to be architectural. It has to be dimensioned properly so somebody can see what's really there. All the buildings should be identified properly in block print so you can read them. And he's got block print in some, low print in others, script in places. It's just crazy. So I'd like to see it cleaned up to the point where that drawing is readable. If not, just send it back to him until it is. Now, if he can't afford a professional draftsman, you better take a class. I liked how simple Megan's was. Why waste time on this until he comes up with something realistic?
So is that a motion, Ed?
No, Gary made the motion.
Gary made the motion?
Gary made a
I
motion.
made the motion to concur with the plan commission's recommendation.
How about adding in when I asked for it?
Okay, Ed, was that, did you second that?
I'll second it with the addition of the architectural drawing, because what he gave us was nonsense.
So is that a friendly amendment to Gary's motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Sort of.
Any more discussion? Bill, you got anything to add to that motion?
It's the worst one I've ever seen.
You got anything to add? No? Yeah?
Megan nailed it. I don't know where to go.
I think Megan said it all. Totally fixed it.
I just,
All right. Town board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
could I raise a few questions, and we have a motion, but
Sure.
there are a few things we're gonna have to clarify. There's reference, Sean, in your, had to be tough for you to look on this.
How about that?
There's a reference in communication with the owner, or I believe the word was client or representative. Now technically, is he considered either one? In other words, if we have issues down the line, this Catherine Wendorf, I haven't seen her at any meetings that I know of, is probably not gonna be there. And are we legally going to be able to notify him as a tenant?
Well, I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, if you look at like a commercial operation where there would be a building owner and a property owner, but we would do a plan of operation for an individual person that would come into that same building or that same site. So it's tied to the property, to the renters a lot of times, and we can always, there's recourse with the property owner too, but they're often just tied to the actual use itself. And that's how site plans of operation are normally done. So
I'm wondering more.
tell me exactly the situation that you're concerned about.
Well, we're talking about violations of the conditions, right off the bat.
Go to the county.
Yeah, it's the county's issue here.
And you know, good
Well-
results we have with county.
I think the county, I hope they're gonna ask the same question I am. Who are we gonna contact? Are we gonna contact the owner who's nowhere around the property, or we're gonna contact?
We're going to contact the county because they're in charge of
In
handling
effect, he's the
zoning
one
violations.
getting the conditional use and the zoning.
Well, no conditional use, just conditional zoning.
Okay, I'm sorry, conditional zoning.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, you know, the town has very limited, once this is approved, the town has limited recourse in terms of what we can and can't do. We can make complaints to the county if we see there are violations, but beyond that,
Resource on
and you have every right as a resident of the town to contact the property owner, you know, and say, hey, you know, this is an issue, we don't like this, but you know, you can't force them to do anything. It would be the county to enforce their zoning ordinance.
What about, right up front, what about use of the existing house? There's a septic there, there's a well there.
Sure.
If any one of us are going for, especially a zoning change, we're gonna have to do a safe water test, code inspection of the well, code inspection of the septic.
Yes. All building inspections still apply. So safety of the buildings and so on, that still applies, and Vince would still be in charge of reviewing those. So if there was an actual safety violation with the building, yes, that's town.
So Vince comes back, obviously Vince wouldn't do well in septic inspection.
Not well in septic, but any.
Someone from the county could, or a private party, but let's say something is not proper there, that would definitely, the county would enforce that it has to be corrected before use?
They would enforce all zoning violations. Vince would enforce all building code violations.
Okay. And then a big question I have, what about county highway approval? We've had situations down the road where the county wanted to eliminate second driveways, move driveways. Has the county highway department even looked at this?
I believe they have started to look at it. I think last time I talked to Rebecca Lato, who was here from the county as part of the rezoning, she mentioned that they have started to look at that. I don't know if they've made a determination or not. I don't think there'd be more than, obviously there's one access point. I think he originally talked about maybe 2 access points, but I don't think that's a reality.
I just hope we can rely on all these follow-ups and.
Or another issue I ran into the other day, I don't know if you saw it, but I had to go to New Berlin, I came back, and there was mud. Like the construction site up by Nashville here, what's his name? There was mud with chunks of it like that on the road.
On the road.
And it looked like maybe some heavy equipment had gone in, picked up the dirt and come out, and then it wore off as it was heading east on Nashville.
Right, that's why we want to ensure anywhere there'd be a truck driving on the property that it would have to be gravel with the appropriate sub-base.
I'd like to see that before September, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
There's a lot to talk about. I think, go back to Rachel's and just make it a simple fix it.
We will contact him.
Okay. Minutes. Plan Commission minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from August 8th.
I'll second. Do someone? Oh, sorry.
You know they're good guys.
I'm going to abstain. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain also. I wasn't here.
I have it. September 6th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from September 6th.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. November 11th
14th.
or 14th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the 14th.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 7, town board, adjourn. I'll make a
So
motion.
moved.
All those in favor?
Aye. Beat you, Jeff.
Plan Commission,
So moved.
One second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned, town board at 7:25. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Last plan commission of the year.
I've been around the town for a long time,
Wasn't
town
too
government and
painful.
everything. That's gotta be the worst conditional use application I've seen since I've been in the town.
The thing about it, I went over it like 10 times, front to back, trying to make sense of it. In the end, I just,
I mean, it's totally useless.